And yes, we are back for another episode of Pack Sports Zone. I'm your host, Peter Pac-Man Clark. And not only are we back, but we got a lot to talk about. As Aaron Judge, congratulations to him as he has finally hit number 61 on this past Wednesday. But before we get to that, we kind of have to start this. Matter of fact, we will start this off with Judge. Congratulations to him. He has tied the AL record. And when you think about this in terms of the past and how people have hit home runs in the American League and in the National League also, if you go back at Roger Maris, when he hit 61, he did it in 163 games. There was an extra game that year. And when you look at Babe Ruth, he did his in 154 game season and he hit 60. Judge hit his 60th in like 147 or 148, something like that. So, and he hit number 61 in game 155. So he is on a historic pace for pretty much everybody that we've ever seen hit the baseball, besides Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa. Which obviously that's another topic as people would debate whether they're the real home run kings with the steroids and everything like that and PEDs. But, that's not really the conversation for today and this week. The conversation is for Aaron Judge. He now has one game left at home today as they play at 1:35 today against the Baltimore Orioles. After that, then they will be on the road for the rest of the season. So, hopefully for New York fans, he can hit number 62 today to break the American League record. If he doesn't, it'll be a road game, and I'm pretty sure that those games against Texas, I think it's Texas that they play against, that he'll have a pretty big attendance as somebody will try to catch that $1 million or $2 million baseball from Aaron Judge. Feel bad for that Toronto guy that actually had number 61 in his glove for a second, or at least touched the ball, dropped, and it went into the bullpen of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Judge hit it the perfect spot where he was able to get the ball back without having to pay for it. But with that being said, the Yankees situation is pretty much, we're just trying to get Judge the record and that's it, because they've clinched the playoffs, they've clinched the division, they've clinched having the number 2 seed. They're going to face the winner of the Guardians and likely the Rays. There's a chance it could be Seattle, but there's a game and a half difference right now. But it really looks like it's just going to be one of those two that they'll probably end up playing, either against the Cleveland Guardians and the Tampa Bay Rays. So, with that being said, we're going to go on to what is really the drama of tonight, and that will be the late game on ESPN, the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves, as they continue this fight that they've had all year for the division. Now, in terms of the Mets right now, obviously they're down a game. They came into the series up one game. Now they're down one game after losing the first two. It does hurt that they lost the first two with DeGrom and Mad Max. DeGrom gave up 3 runs, and Mad Max gave up 4 runs. It doesn't really help that there was 3 solo home runs that DeGrom gave up and 2 home runs given up by Mad Max. The biggest issue, though, is no one is hitting. Other than Alonso and McNeil, who's a hitting machine, there's nobody hitting right now. And they've got to figure this out tonight. And I'm not saying figure it out before the playoffs. They got to figure it out tonight, because if they don't figure it out tonight and they lose tonight, they may not get to the next round of the playoffs, because listen, I understand the Padres have been overrated, and that is a big thing because everybody's hyped them up since they got Soto, and Soto's been bad since he's been there. But they're still a solid team, and you don't want to play against a playoff team when you're not hitting 2 out of 3, and you can lose 2 out of 3 games, just one normal series, and be out the playoffs. And that's what the Mets will be in. That's what type of position they'll be in if they lose tonight. If they win, it's a completely different situation, and I'll get to that in a second. On the Braves side, Brian Snitker, the manager, pretty much told his team before this series started that the playoffs start now. And they are completely playing like it. They're playing with an urgency, and they're in a very lucky situation in that Swanson, Riley, and Olsen have all woke up during these last 2 games. They were all struggling during September, and they all woke up the last 2 games with a total of 5 home runs between the 3, as both Swanson and Olsen hit a home run off DeGrom and Mad Max each. And Riley has been on pretty much, he had 3 hits the first game. He had, I think it was 2 hits this game. He's been just on fire since this series started. Acuna had 3 hits last night. The Braves are really starting to get into that playoff mode right now, and that's not a good situation for the Mets when they got this many games left in the season, and now they are no longer in first place. But no matter what has happened in the first 2 games, obviously you don't like to lose with your 2 star pitchers going. It all comes down to tonight, because if the Braves win, their magic number is 1. The division is done. There's no way that they're going to get swept by the Marlins, who they pretty much own. And then the Mets then sweep the Nationals, who they've actually had trouble with the past couple of games. There's no way that's going to happen. So if the Braves win tonight, the division is over. If the Mets win tonight, that gets a little bit more complicated, but it puts them in a much better position. Their magic number will be 3. Obviously, if they sweep the Nationals, they're in, even if it's a tie, because even if the Braves swept the Marlins, because in a tie, they have the tiebreaker by winning the game tonight. Whoever wins the game tonight wins the tiebreaker, and that's what makes tonight so important, because normally they would play a 163rd game, and that 163rd game would decide who wins the division. They got rid of that, and now the tiebreaker is just who won the most games head-to-head. And right now, the head-to-head is 9-9, which is unbelievable when you go back and look at when the Mets won 4 out of 5 in New York, and they were completely dominating the Braves. Since then, the Braves have beaten the Mets 5 out of 6 games, and now, as I said, the series is 9-9, with tonight being the tiebreaker. So it's funny, but if you look at it right now with the Braves up a game, their magic number is 4. Usually with a win and the other team losing, your magic number drops two spots and it'll be 2. But because the tiebreaker, it actually drops 3 points to 1. So that's a huge difference right there with whoever wins tonight. And in the game tonight, it'll be Charlie Morton versus Chris Bassitt. And listen, Chris Bassitt has been one of the most steady pitchers for the Mets all year. He's had pretty much only 1 bad start since the start of August. So it's been 2 months since he's only had pretty much 1 bad start. Can't say the same for Charlie Morton, where since August, he's had about 5 or 6 bad starts. And that's including his last start against Philadelphia, where he gave up 6 earned runs in less than 5 innings at Philly. It's just, the Braves need Charlie Morton to be playoff Charlie Morton right now. So even though, as I said, you hate to lose with your 2 star pitchers, you still have one of your best starting pitchers, your third guy, going tonight against a guy who's been struggling for the Braves. And he had 1 good hot stretch during the year where he looked like he was starting to get it back. But as I said, he's been struggling a little bit bad recently. He's had 2 out of his last 3 starts. He's given up 4 runs. So, and 5 innings or less, so it's not really pitching the way he wants to be pitching. When you're going against Charlie Morton, you're going to see that curveball, you're going to see a bunch of off-speed stuff all the time. So the Mets have to find a way to snap out of it today, and Mr. Lindor, $300 million man, needs to step it up. If he doesn't step it up, and then we go into the playoffs and he doesn't do it again, you're going to hear a lot of talk towards him, because Pete is pulling his weight right now. He's getting on base every game. He's hitting 2 hits, getting on base twice every game. McNeil, as I said, he's a hitting machine. You would like if Nimmo started to heat up a little bit. It really hurt. You see, it really hurts right now without them having Marte in the lineup, as he really extends the lineup to where it turns into a 6 deep, 7 deep, type of lineup when he's in there. And with Escobar, who's actually been hot for September, he hit like 322 in September or something like around that range. With him being hot, this team is about 5 hitters deep. When he's there, it turns 6. Then when somebody else is hot, it can turn 7 deep, and it could be a dangerous lineup. But with people not hitting, and there's only 2 people, 3 people hitting right now, it hurts, because you had the perfect example last night. Kyle Wright, 30 pitches in the first inning. You have him on the hook. If somebody throws 30 pitches in the first inning, he should be out after 4. It's ridiculous that they let him get to the 6th inning, and by the time he got to the 6th inning, he had as much pitches thrown as Max Scherzer. They just let him off the hook. Even though the Mets have been a patient team all year, they let him off the hook after that first inning. And, he went 5 innings. And with that, you can't do that against a team that is the World Series champions, has playoff experience. You can't do that against the Dodgers. You can't do that against the Braves. Everybody looks at the NL as a 3-team race. It's the Dodgers, it's the Mets, and it's the Braves. And you just want to be the team that's on the opposite side of the bracket so you can pretty much get into the NLCS and wait for the other two to beat the hell out of each other. And the winner of this series does that. The Dodgers are screwed. They have to play against one of these teams in the second round no matter what. In the next round no matter what. But the other team, whoever wins the division, will get the break. I mean, they're going to place the winner. If you lose this division, you have to play the Padres in the first round, which is not an easy game. And then you have to play the Dodgers in the second round on the road. If you win, then you will play against the winners of Philadelphia and St. Louis. And then you obviously will be at home for that series. So it's a much different ball game, whether you win tonight or lose tonight, to set up being the NL East winner. And as I said, I think whoever wins tonight will win the NL East. I've been on record for saying I thought the Mets will win the NL East, and they've just choked it away. Losing games to the Cubs, losing games to the Nationals, losing games to the Marlins. They've choked it away. And then when they finally got a chance to play against Atlanta to put them away, they've lost 5 out of 6. And that's how you blow a division. So, I don't want to hear anything else out of Sal Licata, who on June 1st declared the division over and then backed it up and said it again September 23rd because there was like a 2.5 game lead, because right now you're down a game and you're in a must win. Tonight is a must win for both teams, but more for the Mets because, I mean, with how bad they've been playing against the bad teams, there's a chance they could lose 2 out of 3 to the Nats, and there's a chance Braves win 2 out of 3 against the Marlins, or they sweep and then the Mets only win 2 out of 3 and the Mets win and the Braves win the division. But it's a must win for the Mets because if the Braves win, this division is over. And you might as well start getting ready to play against the San Diego Padres in the playoffs. But with that said, we move on to football as we have obviously we talked about we had our usual intro with the New York Giants, and the New York Giants will be playing against the Chicago Bears at home at 1:00 today. It's a game that they can win. They should win to move to 3-1. This is the type of game that if they want to move on and progress and show that they have some type of progression, they can't lose a game like this because the Bears are not a good team. Their offense is not good. It's pretty much Fields either handing the ball off to a back who is not there today in David Montgomery, or it's him running around himself. But they really aren't throwing the ball. They really aren't moving the ball. Their defense has been okay, but the Giants should win a game like this. Daniel Jones last week against Dallas once again showed he is not the guy. He's not hitting guys. Pretty much he got outplayed by Cooper Rush, which is disgusting because it's amazing that on social media you got Cowboys fans now talking about, oh, should we start Cooper Rush over Dak Prescott? Dak Prescott throws 300 to 350 a game with 3 touchdowns, and Cooper Rush throws for 200 yards and 1 touchdown. It's just stupid. It really is just stupid. But the Dallas Cowboys defense came to play last week. They completely shut down the Giants. They pretty much shut down Saquon. I do think that the Giants should have found a way to get the ball in Saquon's hands more in space, even if you throw it to him out the backfield. But it really is hard for them to score a bunch of points with Daniel Jones, their quarterback. He's just not a good quarterback. He's a guy who I think would be a very good backup. I think he can be an Andy Dalton type or Cooper Rush type. But I don't think he's a starter in the NFL, and it's just because he's too inconsistent. A while ago, somebody told me that the difference between a starter in the NFL and a backup in the NFL is just consistency. You will see backups come in and throw for 300 yards. You'll see them come in and show flashes like they can be a starter. But the problem is they can't do it consistently, and that's why they're a backup. And Daniel Jones plays like a backup. He's too inconsistent to be a starter, and the Giants need to remedy that in the offseason by going and drafting who will be their future starter. They have they just got to do it. They have the rest of people around. They obviously would love if Galladay woke up. If he doesn't, they're going to need another wide receiver. But I like Wan'Dale Robinson. I like Tony when he's on the field. He gets hurt a little bit too much. This guy Bellinger, the tight end they drafted this year, looks pretty good. They obviously need a left tackle and a left guard. Not left tackle. They need a left guard and a center. Because I don't trust Feliciano on that. The left guard spot has been like a rotating door. So they need 2 spots on their offensive line. The rest is okay. And once you get that, and I'm concentrating on the offense because offense wins in the NFL now. You work on the defense after you get your offense to be close to a top 10 offense. So their biggest thing right now, getting a left guard, getting a center, getting another wide receiver, but most importantly, getting your future quarterback in there right now next year. So, with that said, the Giants will be playing at 1:00 against the Bears, a game that they have to win to move to 3-1. The New York Jets will be on the road as they play against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shout out to all my friends because you got Dre being a Steelers fan, and you got obviously Vic, Dave, Javi, heck, everybody else. Ryan is a big Giants fan, so my friends will be at it today. This should be a good game. I think it really will be because the Steelers still have a solid defense. Their offense is questionable. This will be the first start of the year for Zach Wilson, so we'll see how he does running this offense, as you can't really expect too much in game one. Game one for a quarterback is always weird. They got to get settled in. They may take a couple sacks because they're not sure on some of their reads early in the game. So I'm going to give Zach Wilson almost an automatic break for whatever he does this first game. But it's a game that the Jets can win. Just like I said with the Giants, it's a game that they should win. I think the Jets really need to win this game if they want to show progression. Now, if you just want to make sure Zach Wilson is healthy and maybe you say, all right, he has a first game, we lose this first game, but we're good overall, that's fine. Because I don't think the Jets are fighting to be a playoff team this year. So winning and losing isn't as big as showing progression. And that's going to be the big thing with the Jets, showing progression with Zach Wilson. Because as I've said pretty much all season, you have everybody around him. Their line is good. They have 2 good tight ends. They have 4 good wide receivers. The offense is set. You have 2 running backs that are really good. So you just need the quarterback to play well. So the rest of the season is literally just about making sure that Zach Wilson is the guy. If he's the guy, then by next year, the Jets will be ready to go on offense. You can get a couple defensive players to throw in there to try to get more pass rush with Lawson and with Johnson, and you go from there. This team is, I would say, 2 years away from being a contender if they build it the right way. And they're 1 year away from being a playoff team. But the biggest thing is Zach Wilson. They need to know that he's the guy. Because if he isn't the guy, they need to get the quarterback in there to be the guy in there very fast. But moving on to the Titans. The Titans play against Indy at Indy today. This is a must-win game for the Titans because if they lose this game, it'll be just like if they had went 0-3. It really would be. It would be like if they started 0-3 and they just happened to win game 4. Their percentage of making the playoffs will be very low if they don't win today. And same thing for Indy. Indy hasn't played well. They have the 1-1-1 record as they had to tie against the Houston Texans. And it would be very bad if they started out division 0-2-1 to start your division. And then they got lucky last week. Kansas City held them in the game, couldn't put them away. And when it was all done, Indy scored late, wins the game, shocks Kansas City, and all of a sudden, Indy's back in it. Now, this is it. This is going to be, whoever loses this game is in a bad position because, as I said, Indy loses, they start out a division record of 0-2-1. Titans, they lose this game and they're 1-3. So it's a must win for both teams. And I think it's an early playoff game, put it that way. Titans, I said, are not, I wouldn't call them a contender even if they win a division just because they have too many open holes. They still need a top wide receiver. Woods actually woke up last week, and I like that because Woods, they need him. They need him to be that experience in the locker room. Treylon Burks is going to be good. You can see that he's going to be a big wide receiver that can go across the middle. He can run away from guys. So he's going to be good. you just need that other guy to go with Woods. If Woods is going to be their slot guy, because they want an experienced guy in the slot that can always win one-on-one in the slot. If Woods is going to be their slot guy and Burks is going to be on the outside, they just need one more wide receiver there. And I don't think, as I said, I don't think it'll be with Tannehill, because I think this will be his last year with the Titans. We'll see what happens with that situation. Derrick Henry, if I was the Titans, as sad as it sounds, I would not give him an extension. I would let him play out this year, play out next year, and then after that, I would have to try to move on. You don't want to sign a running back, especially somebody that takes 350 hits a year, to a third contract. That's just asking for it. You really are. I know Derrick Henry works out like a beast, and he is a beast, but he is human. And you don't want a running back that is 30 years old making $15 to $20 million in your salary cap, and this guy that's taking 350 hits a year. It's an irresponsible, stupid move. But we've seen John Robinson do some irresponsible, stupid moves recently. So, who knows? We'll see what happens in the offseason. But I wanted to cut it short a little bit this week. I know it was a late show. I know that football is going to be on in a couple hours, as it's around 10:45 in the morning right now. I know that the games will be starting in about 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I want to get a quick show in for you guys to listen before the games start. But it should be another good game. We actually have a game going on right now between the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints. The Saints scored to tie it up with a touchdown to Chris Olave, and the Minnesota Vikings are driving with a minute to go to try to take the lead as they're inside the red zone. But this week is going to be big, because it starts out tonight. You got the Mets versus the Braves, probably going to decide the division. Today is the first week of London football. As I said, the Vikings and Saints are playing now. Next week, you're going to have the Green Bay Packers and New York Giants. So you got football starting at 9:30 in the morning and ending at 11:30 at night. So all you football fans that like to watch pure football all day, this is their heaven for you. So it's going to be fun for that. And then it's the end of the regular season for baseball. So when I talk to you next week, we're going to be previewing the playoffs, as the Mets, Yankees, and Braves, the three teams that I talk about, all three teams will be in the playoffs. And we get a chance to start talking about who their opponents will be and what do we expect to do. The Yankees will be getting a bye. The winner of the Braves Mets will probably be getting a bye. And then the other one will be in a fighting situation next weekend. So we've got a lot to talk about. It should be fun to talk about. And once again, I want you to join me next week, as we always have more sports to talk about. There's never a lack of sports to talk about. So with that said, I'm your host, Peter Pac-Man Clark, for Pac Sports Zone. We'll talk to you guys next week. As a Braves fan, I'm hoping we don't hear this music tonight. But if we do, hopefully it's for a Wilson Contreras home run. Excuse me, William Contreras home run. But I'm your host. I'll catch you guys next week. Peace out.